Hello, you multi-marzipan mincemeats. I'm Ralphie. Welcome to the Bothy. Welcome to Ralphie Review 1012. And a big malt mention thank you to Dan Swank 3378. Thank you, Dan. And it's whiskey review time. I don't know if you can actually notice. I'll hold the bottle a little bit closer. Can you see that the bottle's not clear? Right, can you see that? Hang about. Perhaps if I bring the candle down and show the candle behind the bottle, you can see that it's a little bit hazy. That's better. You can see it. That's because it's not just unchill filtered. It's really properly unchill filtered. Right? When you get that hazy cloudiness in the whiskey, it's always a sign that whatever the quality of the stuff that's been bottled, it's better, it's more raw, it's more authentic, it's more original in its original form. What you're seeing is the particles of solids, the oils, the long chain proteins, the little tiny specks even of wood that have been settling at the bottom of the cask that sometimes, despite the barrier filtering, they do get through the strainers, the barriers, and they end up in the bottle. And I just want to assure you that when you buy a bottle and it's been sitting on the shelf for a while, and you look at the base inside the bottle and you see this little island just sitting doing nothing, this little island of dust, suspended dust and particles, that's actually a good thing. Some people think, oh my goodness, my whiskey's been contaminated, but far from it. You're getting more authenticity, more originality from the cask without the heavy engineering of filtration, conditioning, sanitization, and diminishing of the experience that producers do simply for cosmetic appearances, because it's a habit that's been formed in the production of blended Scotch whisky, because blended Scotch whisky drinkers, frankly, are really not particularly invested in the flavours that you get from good quality blended Scotches and single malts. We're malt mates. So let's share a malt moment, a particular good one, because this is Campbelltown Loch Non-Age Statement blended malt whisky. Right, don't confuse it with blended Scotch whisky, despite the fact that I know that you are confused. And it's easy to be confused because whoever decided and signed off on the decision to call blended malts, and they used to be called vatted malts, by the way, and sometimes pure malts, that's what they used to be called. They say, no, we're going to call them blended malts, and that'll clarify things. But of course, a blended whisky can either be blended malts or blended Scotch. So blended Scotch is blended malts, but blended Scotch can be blended malts and grains. If it had been my decision, I would have described this category as malt blend. Don't even use the word blended. Blended Scotch whisky. It's clear. Malt blend, different word, different spelling, different connotation, different meaning, more effective. But it is what it is. And it's also one of the most overlooked categories in Scotch whisky is the malt blend category. Everybody knows about blended Scotch, malt and grain. Everybody knows about single malts because they come from pot stills most of the time. And they're from one distillery, and it's easy to get your head around. But with blended malts, people are saying, well, is it a blend of how many malts, and how many malts are you allowed? And can it be 2 malts? Can it be 200 malts? Right? Well, yeah, it could. If you've got 200 malt distilleries in Scotland, yeah, you could have a blend of 200 malts. We're getting there. We'll see how long it takes. But anyway, back to this particular one. I'm reviewing it because it's the category winner, the third of the online Scotch whisky categories in the 2023 OSWAs. You'll find a link below connecting you to that very, very useful archive and informational site. And in the category of Best Blended Malt, Campbeltown Loch won, and a worthy winner. I haven't reviewed this particular bottling before. I have previously reviewed the 21-year-old blended malt from Campbeltown Loch. And very good stuff it was too, and great price. You know, we're talking 21-year-old malt whiskies, minimum age, way less than £100 a bottle. But that's in the good old days, and that was also back in review 174, and Ralphie reviews 467. So let's stick our nose into this and see what we find. Apart from wonderful sherried malty gorgeousness. Yeah, it's there, wonderful sherry malted gorgeousness, present and correct. A very good choice by the democratic vote of the online whisky community. Great decision. When you first open the bottle, by the way, it'll seem harsh, even a little rough, because it's a young whisky chock full of flavour. Now there's a reason for that, and I'll come to it probably in the extras, because it's an old whisky making protocol that we don't see so much nowadays, and I think that's what's going on here. But this is a distinctly sherried blend of malts exclusively from Campbeltown. Now the Campbeltown region is the smallest whisky region in Scotland. There are only 3 distilleries there, and these 3 distilleries produce 5 whiskies. The 3 distilleries are Springbank, Glengyle and Glen-Scotia. The 5 whiskies they produce are Springbank, Longrow, Hazelburn, Kilkerran and Glen-Scotia. So this is very localised, and importantly we've got a good point of reference as to what to expect. When it's oxygenated, when you've poured your whisky into the glass and let it open up and settle down, right, then you can put your nose in it. Don't rush it, because you're just going to get a shorthand experience. Moderated sherry, Oloroso sherry, raisin, barley sugar, touch of peatiness, dates, figs, fig conserve, a little bit of orange jam called marmalade. Interestingly, there's a soft, savoury and sour note coming through in the nose. When we first taste it, big arrival, lots of flavour. All the better delivered because this product is bottled at 46%, and it's unchill filtered. And I'm looking at the looking to see where it says that, because I'm sure it used to say it. Anyway, you can tell looking at the liquor that it's unchill filtered, and I would say that it's also natural colour as well. And it doesn't last very long. It's fairly short, neat. It's kind of quite compressed, quite consolidated in terms of not just the flavour but then sensation. And this is where, when we add a little bit of water, you know I'm a sucker for that. Always works for me, except for the few times that it doesn't, but when it doesn't I make sure and let you know. It's really quite impressive. how over the next 10 to 15 minutes this will open up. The arrival will become more complex, more prolonged. The development will have greater complexity. It will be slightly longer. And then, whereas when it was neat, there wasn't much in the finish. It was abrupt, short and to the point, despite being fresh, clean and tannic. You're going to find with an addition of water that there's this beautiful residual, lingering, dry syrup sweetness note. And another thing that you'll notice, particularly when you add water, once the whiskies are given the opportunity to unravel itself, and this will never happen in a tumbler with ice. So please don't waste the whiskey. Just use some Grants or something for that. But for sipping, you will get frankly as good an experience as anything from a decent single malt. This is a blended malt, but as I mentioned earlier, there's only 3 distilleries involved. We know Springbank's in there, we know Kilkerran's in there, we know Glen-Scotia's in there, and we also know that they're doing this in small batches. This isn't multi 10,000 cases of mega brand production here. These are small batches that they're doing at Springbank Distillery. Now, I put it to you this way. When everybody's queuing up 2 hours before the shop opens to make sure they've got their place in line to buy the next Springbank, should they consider it worth it and worth the time and the effort and the hassle, you'll be the one that goes in the following day and buys a bottle of Campbellton Loch, which the single malt fans from Springbank are really not interested in. But you're a whiskey drinker, not a speculator. So you take this and you will taste the Springbank in it. The wonderful thing is that the Springbank won't dominate because Kilkerran's a great single malt, and so is Glen-Scotia. You have the knowledge, you have the insight, you know the composition, and therefore without joining any queues you can get that Springbank style of experience. For in the UK you can buy this for £40 any day of the week. You know, you can't go wrong. And this is where the online whisky community really, in the information sharing, if you want to learn about whisky, if you want to learn about what you're consuming, it's from the community. It's all very well the occasional so-called experts and the commentators, experienced commentators and motor mouths like myself. We have our place. But in fact, the best advice you will get is from just the active, keen, passionate, collective online community who are constantly looking at whisky, buying whisky, sharing whisky, enjoying whisky, and building a phenomenal amount of experience around the activity. Now, I've let this sit for a while. Let's come back to it again. The water's in it, 5 millilitres, doesn't need any more. Nose is softer. Now we're getting some dustiness. For a young blended malt blend, we're getting notes from the cask. We're getting a soft, particularly American or Quercus alba note. That sort of slight green resinous tone. It's prominent, but it doesn't dominate because the actual substance of the single malts compiling this malt blend are so significant and substantial that the casks will never take over. The clarity and quality of the sherry casks is excellent. We're seeing the same thing here as we see in Thompson Brothers 6-year-old blended Scotch whisky. The same thing in the more carefully resourced single malt whisky producers who are using sherry casks intelligently. In other words, they're using them while they're fresh. They're sourcing them quickly, they're not leaving them waiting, they're getting them filled. This is important. I'll come back to this later on. Long arrival, malt, malt extract, complex sherry, oh, chimney soot, coal tar smoke, barbecued pineapple, toffee mint, minted toffee, Werther's butter toffees, buttermint toffees, lemon oil, grapefruit juice, malt extract. It's a busy one. You'll find this with a lot of young non-age statement whiskies. See, when they use really good casks, they come across as older than they actually are. The giveaway is the simpleness of the arrival, delivery and finish. That's what tends to be the giveaway for young whiskies, but absolutely superb. For me, actually, this has an edge over the Thompson Brothers simply because of the quality of the casks. That, of course, you see, when you've got a company, a distillery, making their blended malt in-house, they're sourcing the cask rather than buying casks from someone else to mature the whiskey in. And that makes a difference. We start to spot these small details over time. So let's give this a malt mark with my malt mark cards. And it's a blended malt, by the way. A malt blend, as I like to say. Very impressed with this. You're far better with a good quality young single malt or malt blend whiskey than you are with something older that's been in a cask that's been taking it the wrong direction. 85 out of 100. That is a malt blend mark, and it's an integrity mark. Wonderful stuff. So if you want to pop back again for Ralphie Review 1012 Extras, I shall be doing a little bit more of a protocol, a very simple little exercise called up blending. Now, up blending is an offshoot of standard blending of whiskies together. But when you're up blending, you're working from more of a knowledge base. You're keeping it simple, and then you're seeing, frankly, some very dramatic improvements as a result of very nominal investment. And I want to share it with you so you're aware of it. And there you have it. If you've enjoyed this, leave a thumbs up, connect and subscribe if you haven't. And I also have a Patreon channel. We've just launched our Discord community, so it's thriving and growing daily. And I just want to say publicly, I want to say a public thank to Mirko and Scorchio. Yeah, put it on record, who are my moderators on the Discord channel. These guys have helped me get that channel off to a really good start, and there's some deep dive conversations going on there. Anyway, that's enough from me. Any final comments on the Online Scotch Whisky Awards blended malt category winner? Well, it's a malt blend to me. I can see the Scotch mist appearing in the glass already. It's a very satisfying experience, and it can get better. And in my next extras, I'm going to show you how that happens. There you go. Now you know. Just sharing. See you soon. Bye-bye. Clicker, clicker, click, click, click. Is it working? No, it's not working. It'll work this time. Of course it will. Please work.